Ladies and gentlemen, most people live their entire lives looking outward, chasing approval, comparing themselves, seeking validation from others. But to truly love oneself is to first shift the gaze inward, to begin with awareness. Awareness is not loud, it is not dramatic, it doesn't arrive like thunder or a striking revelation. It comes like a whisper, a gentle return to the present moment where all masks are removed, and you are invited to simply observe what is. To become aware is to witness yourself without judgment, not trying to fix anything, not trying to justify who you are, just seeing, observing the breath, feeling the body, noticing the thoughts that come and go like drifting clouds in a vast sky. In this space, you begin to understand something subtle yet profound, that you are not your thoughts, you are not your doubts, you are not the labels others placed upon you, you are the one who sees. When awareness deepens, there is a softening. You begin to release the harshness you've carried against yourself for years. You begin to recognize how much of your suffering comes not from the world, but from the way you see yourself. The criticism, the comparison, the inner voice that says, "I am not enough," begins to lose its power. Why? Because awareness shines a light on the illusion. It reminds you that you were never incomplete to begin with. It is in this awareness that the seed of self-love is planted, not a love that depends on your success or your beauty or your achievements. Not a love that comes and goes based on your performance, but a quiet love rooted in simply being. A love that says, even now, I am worthy, even with my flaws, I am enough. This love does not inflate the ego, it humbles it. Because it arises from truth, not fantasy. To practice this awareness is not complicated, but it requires consistency. It means taking time every day to return to yourself, to sit in stillness, to breathe deeply, to watch the waves of thought pass by without grabbing onto them. It is in these small, quiet moments that the greatest transformation begins. Slowly, the noise fades, the self-doubt quiets, and in its place, there is clarity. There is peace. Most of all, there is a homecoming, a realization that you have always been whole, that the love you were searching for in others was always waiting for you within. This is not a philosophy. It is an experience, one that only you can discover. And once you do, the way you move through the world changes. You no longer act to impress. You no longer seek to be accepted. You live from the fullness of your being, grounded in the awareness of your worth. The flower does not bloom to earn your admiration. The moon does not rise each night, hoping someone will notice. The mountain does not stand tall because it was praised into its form. Nature exists as it is, full, complete, unapologetic. In the same way, your value does not depend on who sees you, who applauds you, or who accepts you. It simply is. The moment you believe that your worth must be proven, you step away from your essence. You begin to mold yourself into someone else's image, living a life designed by fear of rejection rather than truth. You act to be liked, you speak to be approved, you hide to avoid judgment, and each time you do, you forget a little more who you are. This forgetting is the greatest loss, not of reputation, not of opportunity, but of self. To return is not to achieve anything new. It is to strip away all the ideas you've attached to your identity, not rich or poor, not smart or slow, not beautiful or plain, not what they said you are, not even what you think you are. Just this moment, this presence. Breathing, alive, aware. That is your true nature, and that nature has value beyond words. It is not easy to see this, because society rewards the loud, the polished, the impressive, but all of that fades, strength fades, applause fades, even identity shifts like sand. What remains is the silent awareness underneath, and that awareness is unshakable. When you connect with it, you stop trying to prove your worth because you realize it was never missing. When you know your value is not earned but inherent, something changes. You become less reactive, less desperate for attention, less afraid of failure. because you understand that none of those things diminish your being. Success doesn't add to you. Failure doesn't subtract from you. Both are just movements in time, but who you are, beyond the changing forms, remains untouched. This realization brings great peace. No longer do you chase love or recognition as if they are the source of your wholeness. You begin to move from a place of fullness, not need. You begin to give rather than grasp, and this giving is not sacrifice, it is expression, a natural overflow of knowing that nothing outside of you defines you. Do not wait for someone to tell you that you matter. Do not wait for the world to approve of you before you feel at ease. That kind of peace will never arrive, because it is built on a condition. Instead, realize that your breath, your presence, your being is already enough. Just as the tree stands, just as the river flows, without permission, without doubt, you too are enough. In the quiet space between striving and resting lies the most neglected relationship of all, the one you hold with yourself. Not the image you present to others, not the role you perform in society, but the silent connection to your own being. Loving yourself is not a performance, it is a quiet discipline. It begins not with declarations, but with the smallest acts of compassion directed inward. Most people offer kindness to others with ease. They speak gently to friends, show concern for strangers, and forgive the flaws of loved ones. Yet when it comes to themselves, their words become sharp, their judgments harsh, and their patience vanishes. They carry shame like a shadow, blaming themselves for being imperfect, slow, or lost. But if the seed of love is not planted within, how can one expect it to grow outward? Self-love is not arrogance, nor is it indulgence. It is not about elevating oneself above others. Rather, it is the willingness to treat yourself the same way you would treat someone you deeply care about. When the mind becomes turbulent, when the body feels tired, when mistakes arise, it is self-love that brings you back, not punishment. To care for the body is not vanity, it is respect. It is the understanding that this body carries you through life, holds your experiences, and breathes life into each moment. To nourish it, to move it, to rest it, is a form of gratitude. Similarly, the mind too deserves care. The thoughts you allow, the words you repeat, the beliefs you reinforce, these shape the quality of your inner world. A compassionate mind does not mean you avoid responsibility. It means you learn from mistakes without destroying your spirit in the process. When you love yourself, you become your own sanctuary. You stop running from discomfort because you learn to sit with it. You stop chasing approval because you no longer need to be anyone else. You find stillness even in pain because you hold your own heart gently, like you would hold the hand of someone who is hurting. This kind of love is not emotional, it is conscious, a choice you make again and again to not abandon yourself. Every moment offers a chance to practice. When you are tired, do you allow rest or push yourself harder? When you fail, do you speak with understanding or condemnation? When you are alone, do you treat yourself with boredom or presence? The answers reveal how much compassion you extend inward. This is not a task to complete, but a lifelong relationship to tend. Some days you will forget, other days you will remember, but each return to compassion strengthens the bond with yourself, and over time, the way you see yourself transforms, not through force, but through gentleness. Not through perfection, but through presence. To love yourself in this way is to become whole, not because everything is fixed, but because nothing is rejected. You become both the teacher and the student, the healer and the healed. And that is more than enough. The relationship you hold with yourself becomes the invisible thread that weaves through every interaction you experience in the world. What you carry within reflects outwardly, not in words, but in energy, in posture, in silence. If your inner world is clouded with self-judgment, uncertainty, or self-neglect, then even the most beautiful experiences outside cannot bring lasting peace. The way you treat yourself sets the tone for how life responds to you. Many people look for change by adjusting the world around them, seeking different jobs, different people, different surroundings. But no matter where they go, they bring themselves along, and so the same patterns repeat. The same wounds surface. This is not because the world is against them, but because the inner environment has not shifted. When you start observing how you speak to yourself, how you respond to your own mistakes, and how you carry your body through each day, you begin to uncover the subtle programming that runs quietly beneath your awareness. Do you encourage or criticize? Do you allow or suppress? Do you nurture or punish? This internal dynamic becomes a signal. Without words, it tells others how to engage with you. If you do not value your own time, people will not respect it. If you constantly betray your own boundaries, the world will mirror that disregard. But the moment you choose to honor yourself, even in the smallest ways, the world begins to shift in response. This is not about controlling others. It is about creating alignment. When you operate from self-respect and inner balance, you stop attracting chaos. When you act from self-love, you stop seeking love from places that only drain you. You begin to notice the difference between connection and attachment, between presence and performance. And most importantly, you begin to choose differently, not from fear, but from clarity. The mind often wants to believe that others are the source of our suffering or joy. But true power lies in reclaiming the mirror. Instead of waiting for someone to recognize your worth, you embody it. Instead of hoping for kindness, you offer it to yourself first. From that space, even if the world doesn't respond immediately, you remain anchored. You no longer shrink to fit or rise to please. You simply stand, and this standing, quiet, centered, holy, is the invitation for others to meet you where you are. Not higher, not lower, but equal. Relationships become healthier. Choices become wiser. Life becomes simpler. Not because everything outside has changed, but because everything inside has come into harmony. It begins always with you, not through force, but through awareness. Not by fixing the world, but by cultivating the one within. When the inner environment is calm, clear, and rooted in respect, the outer environment starts to follow. In this way, the world becomes a reflection, not of who you pretend to be, but of who you truly are. In the stillness, where no one is watching and no roles are being played, there is a profound opportunity to meet yourself. Yet, most people avoid this space. They keep themselves occupied, distracted, entertained, because silence can be confronting. It holds a mirror. It shows you what you have hidden, what you have denied, what you fear. But it also shows you something far greater. It reveals the strength that has always been present beneath the surface. To be still is to stop escaping. It is to sit with the restless thoughts, the discomfort in the body, the tension in the chest, and to breathe through it, not to fight it, not to analyze it, simply to allow it. In this allowing, a shift begins. The noise which once felt so loud and overwhelming begins to settle, and beneath the noise you find clarity, you find presence, you find something untouched. This place within you is not moved by praise or blame. It is not anxious about the future or bound by the past. It simply is, and the more time you spend in this stillness, the more familiar it becomes. What once felt foreign now becomes home. The outer world may remain unpredictable, but your inner world becomes your sanctuary. People often look for strength in external displays, achievements, discipline, physical power. But true strength is quiet. It is not the absence of emotion or fear. It is the willingness to sit with them, to feel them fully without being consumed. It is the ability to return again and again to yourself, especially when everything around you feels uncertain. Stillness teaches you to respond, not react. To move from intention, not impulse. It becomes a training ground not for the body, but for the heart and the mind. When you cultivate this inner space, life's difficulties no longer shake you so easily. You feel the waves, but you are not thrown by them. You bend, but you do not break. In this way, solitude becomes sacred, not something to endure, but something to embrace, because in solitude, you reclaim your own voice. You hear your own rhythm, you connect with your own truth, and from this truth, life becomes simpler. You know what is right for you, you see clearly what no longer belongs. Decisions are no longer clouded by fear or confusion. They arise from stillness. The world may never offer you the peace you seek, but within you, there is a source that never runs dry. To access it, you do not need more knowledge, more achievement, or more approval. You only need to sit, to breathe, to listen. And in listening, you remember. The strength you've been searching for has always been within. What you avoid in silence is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It does not wish to harm you. It wants to guide you home. And when you finally sit long enough, not to escape but to be, you realize you were never lost. You were only disconnected from your center. Transformation does not begin when everything is perfect. It begins in the quiet moment, when you choose to accept yourself as you are. Not as an ideal, not as an improved version, but as the raw, real, present version of yourself, complete with all your flaws, scars, fears, and hopes. This acceptance is not resignation. It is the beginning of a powerful shift. Because when you stop resisting who you are, you create space to become who you are meant to be. Many people chase change from a place of self-rejection. They want to be better because they believe who they are now is unworthy. But anything built on rejection cannot last. It is like planting a tree in rocky soil. It may grow for a while, but it will always struggle to stand tall. Real growth requires nourishment, and the deepest nourishment comes from self-love. When you love yourself, change becomes natural, not forced, not pressured, not desperate, but like water flowing downstream. It moves because it's aligned with the nature of life. You begin to eat well not to punish your body, but to support it. You move not to chase a shape, but to feel alive. You speak your truth not to prove something, but to live honestly. Every action becomes an extension of care rather than a symptom of fear. This is the essence of transformation. It is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you are beneath the layers you've picked up, layers of doubt, comparison, conditioning, and past pain. Self-love is the tool that peels those layers away gently, without shame. It says, I see where I've been, I understand my wounds, but I no longer have to live from them. To live this way requires presence. Each moment offers a choice, to fall into old patterns or to return to awareness. Some days, the old habits will feel strong. Some days, you will forget. But even in forgetting, there is learning. Even in falling, there is the chance to rise more mindfully. This path is not straight, and it is not fast. But it is honest, and it is yours. You do not need to wait until you are healed to love yourself. You do not need to wait until you are confident, calm, successful, or enlightened. Love is not the reward. It is the path. It is the energy that turns every step into a movement of awakening. When you love yourself, even the slowest progress feels sacred. Even the setbacks hold meaning, because you are no longer walking to escape yourself. You are walking to meet yourself more deeply. In this way, transformation becomes a byproduct, not a goal. It arises from the simple, consistent act of showing up with love for yourself each day. Not loudly, not perfectly, but sincerely. That sincerity opens doors that effort alone cannot. And once opened, there is no need to force anything. Growth becomes who you are, not just what you do.